On today's episode of Andy Ari On3 presented by BetMGM, will John Mateer play against Texas? The Oklahoma quarterback still trying to get back. Oklahoma coach Brent Venables being very cagey about it, but what is going to happen? Also, Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio joins us to talk about Kentucky potentially having the buyout money for Mark Stoops. And oh man, it's a whopper of a buyout. So can Stoops start winning again, or would Kentucky have to bite the bullet and pay it? We talked to Matt about that. Plus, a huge game for Michigan at USC and Bobby Petrino back in the head coach's chair at Arkansas, headed to Tennessee. Can Petrino win enough to be considered for the job permanently? All on today's Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. We've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We will be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you'll get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. Call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. Call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. It's a Megaboard Wednesday. And you know what board we're going to first? We're going to the Crimson Corner at SoonerScoop.com. That's right. That is On3's Oklahoma team site. The great George Stoia, the great Kerry Murdoch, the great Eddie Radosevich have been all over the John Mateer story. This is George Stoia's post. Will John Mateer play against Texas? Brent Venables provides zero clarity. Ari, the cat and mouse on the John Mateer has become even more entertaining than the idea that John Mateer might play against Texas on Saturday.
You know, I feel like if I were the head coach of Oklahoma, that the number one thing that I would be aware of is my star quarterback's in health. Now, I understand that Brent Venables is preparing for a game, and you don't use that player or think of that player in the thought of the game plan unless that person's, practiced good on good, the way that Venables said.
Are you taking his comment actually seriously? What Brent Venables said was, no. I don't know anything about the injury. I'm just going to cut you off. I don't know anything about the injury. So when they tell me he's available, I'll let y'all know.
That's what I'm saying. Right. That's why I'm saying, like, there's no way that
actually mean that.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like, it is of no advantage to him to give Texas any information about this right now. Now, I will point out, this is where things get interesting in the world of more legalized gambling, the SEC issuing availability reports for conference games, because this show drops Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern during game weeks, 4 games involving 2 SEC teams, that is when the first availability report comes out. What do we think they will say about John Mateer on the first availability report?
It's like a fact. It's going to say questionable. This is the definition of questionable. No?
I would think so. I think that is probably the easiest way, because if he plays, okay. If he doesn't play, you didn't hide anything.
Right. Even if you know he's not going to play. Like, that's the thing I don't know with the injury reports, Andy. If a coach knows that a player isn't playing and they put him as questionable, that's a violation of rules, right?
No, I don't think. Yeah, if you know they're straight up out, because the idea is you don't want to have something that's going to influence the line, because it could. That sort of information, like a key player, especially a quarterback being out, could influence the line. So my question to you is, the Mateer stuff baked into the line right now? Texas is still a 1.5 point favorite. When we picked it the other day, Texas was a 2.5 point favorite. Currently, as we record this, Texas is a 1.5 point favorite. I'm a little shocked at that. Like, if there's a thought that Mateer's going to play, I would imagine some people are betting on Oklahoma right now.
Yeah, well, when you say baked into the line, it is baked into the line because the line is moved from the graphic. Like, it's already a point different.
Yeah.
And 2.5.
Why is Texas still favored? Like, if people watch the games?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some tweets about how power ratings would say that, without Mateer, Texas is a 5.5 point favorite, and with him, they might be a slight favorite. So, this game, we both picked Oklahoma. I picked Oklahoma straight up. That is under the impression that Texas is the cooked product that we saw against Florida last week. And the thing is, Andy, I'm not certain that's true. Now, Texas might not be the best team in college football. Texas might not be a team that's going to win the national title this year. But do we really know for sure that Texas isn't a team that can show up on Saturday and beat Oklahoma straight up with or without Mateer? I don't think that we know that. So, if you did a player draft, and this even happened with Clemson, there was we've mentioned this before on the show, but I saw with Clemson mock drafts with 4 players in the first round. And Clemson has been awful to watch this year. And it's like, if we did a draft straight up of players we would take in this game, don't you think that more Texas players would get taken in the top 15 picks than Oklahoma players? And if that's the case, no matter how much they've looked bad or down,
but I'm not sure that's what would happen.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm not either anymore.
Because we're not talking about the top 15 picks of the NFL draft. You're talking about if you just took the uniforms off the teams and you drafted players for this game. How many people would be in the top 15, and how many would one team have over the other?
Yeah. And what would your estimation of that be?
Well, so who's your first pick? Is it Colin Simmons? Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Colin Simmons is your first pick. I think Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams might be your next 2. And that's Oklahoma starting defensive tackles.
Okay.
Mateer's playing, it's Mateer. And actually, if Mateer's playing, Mateer's your number 1 pick.
Right. Now, the question, too, becomes, what do you do with Anthill? Okay. What do you do with Michael Taffy? What do you do with, is Parker Livingston done for the year? Have we gotten an update on him?
No. He's supposed to play. They think he can play. They didn't find structural damage. They said it was a very bad collision, bad bruise. So they think he's going to play. But here's the thing, Ari, you're not thinking about like Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie, and like Oklahoma's linebackers are awesome. Isaiah Satania has been great this year.
You actually can make the case that Isaiah Satania
is only a freshman, but he's going to be really good.
You could make the case that Isaiah Satania would be taken before Wingo at this point, right?
Isaiah Satania would be the first receiver off the board based on this year's production.
Right. So, yeah, maybe we found a loophole here, or a weak book, maybe a weak line. BetMGM. I don't know.
If Mateer, but the other thing is, if Mateer plays, is the injury going to affect him? Is it going to affect his ability to throw the ball? It's a thumb injury on his throwing hand, so it's entirely possible he could try to play and it doesn't work. Like, we don't know. We just don't know anything.
Yeah. Peyton Bowen's been awesome. I'm looking at their two deeps right now. They've got a lot of good players.
Like David Stone, who's the D tackle who rotates in, the sophomore. He's been great this year.
Yeah.
So Oklahoma's defense has some players that you want, that the NFL is going to want. Like it's not the Alex Grinch days anymore on the Oklahoma D line. Hey, Ari, our guy Eddie Radosevich from SoonerScoop has been doing his best. He is Mr. Boots on the ground. So Tuesday night, he went out to try to get a little more intel on the Mateer situation.
It's me again, Eddie Radosevich, SoonerScoop.com, day 2 John Mateer watch, currently embedded in one of the bushes outside of Gaylord Family Oakland Memorial Stadium. Can't breathe. It's worth it, though, to try to give you the latest. OU, back in the indoor today. Not surprising, little cloudy out, lots of chemtrails. Brent Venables talks about that today. Check out SoonerScoop.com for more.
A little cloudy out, a lot of chemtrails.
Yeah, I like how the branch just broke. Guy's a national treasure.
His face.
He really is. I do love that he genuinely loves his job, and it just shines through in everything he does. Like he's like, I don't even know him that well, and I feel like I would just want to hang out with him. And I think that's the vibe he gives off with everybody, which is why he's so successful. But yeah, that was hilarious. The one that he had with a branch in his face and he's holding it, the branch up, like that was hilarious.
I just wonder what manner of shrubbery he's going to hide behind Wednesday night.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's going to play?
Either he's going to play or this is the biggest psyop in the history of college football. And look, that's happened in this game before. This is the game where Mike Leach concocted a fake call sheet and left it out on the field after warmups, and Texas bought it. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. This is just completely to mess with Texas, and like he's going to ship us out on the injury report.
Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's just say that this is just a scheme to mess with Texas's head. How much of an advantage do you actually think is attained with that? Like, because
you're forcing them to practice a lot against design QB run. That's probably about it.
We haven't seen. I mean, we've seen more of Michael Hawkins at Oklahoma than John Mateer, but he can run a little, can he?
He's not as good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
this is a bigger deal when you have a mobile quarterback and a quarterback who doesn't move at all.
Right.
And
right.
I don't think that there's any assumption
Hawkins moves well enough.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Michael Hawkins does anything as good as John Mateer does at this point. But it's not like they're completely opposite styles of quarterback either.
No,
so,
you can run the same offense with the two of them. Yeah. It doesn't really change that. It's not like the Chris Leak, Tim Tebow thing at Florida, where if you had to prepare for one, it was completely different.
Right. But we have seen teams in this league go in the middle of a game from a more stand-in quarterback to a mobile quarterback and completely melt down. Sorry, last year's LSU.
Yeah. The LSU Texas A&M game is a prime example of that from last year. So we'll see what happens, but this is fascinating to me. So we may be back with a video, who knows, Wednesday night when the availability report comes out. Maybe we'll get some clarity on that because they kind of have to give you something, but it may just be they list him as questionable, and the mystery remains until Saturday.
I don't see how they could do anything other than that. If it's just out, that would be so weird to me. Would be a little bit of a T. Like what was the last 2 days about? If that's the case, but
probable.
Then we go live.
Oh yeah, 100% going live. If he's probably now, I will warn you, Ari. When that comes out, I may be at the kid's school. My daughter is QB1 for the freshman powder puff team.
Let's go.
It's big day. Like
is Will involved in
getting her prepared.
Your brother, or her brother, your son has been coaching her?
Not too much, because see, what happens is the freshmen play the seniors and the sophomores play the juniors. So my son is a coach for the sophomores. So if they both win, they play each other's teams. He can't give away the store. Like, he can't give her the good plays because he's got to use those in case he gets the championship game.
Are there any BetMGM numbers on these games? Because I might get some action on this.
Listen, she's got a cannon. I'm told nobody on the team can catch. Actually, I'm told she's the one on the team who can catch, but she's not allowed to throw it to herself. Meanwhile,
if we have to go live sideline on a football, you're still on assignment. You're watching football.
Oh, I know. I'll just have it like you'll see the Powder Puff game in the background, and I'll be like, John Mateer is playing. Oh, by the way, if you want to recruit another QB, check out Maggie Staples.
It's electric.
All right, Ari. Before we head to our next Megaboard topic, and it's a freaking doozy, I'm going to tell you about Huel. The Huel Black Edition. Best complete meal that you can find. Take the powder, you throw it in the bottle. Take the bottle. You have a complete meal. 40 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals. Huel is the #1 complete nutrition in the world. Use the promo code Staples15 for 15% off, plus a free gift. Your first purchase is $75 more. Plus, check out Huel Daily Greens. In one beautiful drink, you get 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods, super greens, adaptogens, lion's mane mushroom, 4 grams of fiber, electrolytes, and antioxidants. So go to Huel.com. That's Huel.com. Use the code Staples15 for 15% off your first purchase of $75 more, plus a free gift. All right. Our next Megaboard topic is one. Okay, so my assumption of the super team era is over. We talked about that yesterday. I was wrong. Ohio State may be a super team again. Here's another assumption I made in the offseason where I may be hilariously wrong. So we go to the Kentucky Sports Radio message board. So KSR Plus, we go to the message board, and here is the thread. Matt Jones on the Stoops buyout. And this is a quote from our friend Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio, the founder of Kentucky Sports Radio. For the first time since these conversations have started, I think the money will be there if needed. Ari, that is a lot of money because Mark Stoops buyout, and my math may be slightly off because I may be missing some incentive payments or that he would hit. But if I'm just going based on his base salary, his buyout at the end of this season would be roughly $36 million. What makes this so tricky is that $36 million would be owed in one lump sum within 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
What's different about this buyout versus every other buyout? All the other buyouts either have part of it up front and then it's installments, or all in installments. So like Billy Napier at Florida, 50% owed up front, so that would be $10 million. An additional $10.1 million owed in installments.
The car industry would go completely out of business if everybody had to purchase a car the way that Kentucky would have to buy out Mark Stoops.
Yes, exactly. Because nobody has that kind of cash. I was assuming that Kentucky either didn't or wasn't willing to spend that kind of cash. But when Matt Jones puts something like this out, it's not accidental and it's not speculation. And now let's talk to Matt Jones, because I think Matt can explain this a lot better than we can because he's as connected as anybody at Kentucky. So here is Matt Jones.
And you know what we'll do? We'll make it a bit. If he can't hear me, you can say it what I'm saying to him.
See, I can't hear anything he's saying.
That's fine. That's great.
I think it's selective deafness.
All right, just make a bit out of it.
Okay. We are joined by Matt Jones, the founder of Kentucky Sports Radio. And Matt, you're driving right now. Please be safe. Please be careful.
I got you.
I need to know, because my preseason assumption you might have blown it all up. Because one of my biggest preseason assumption was because Mark Stoops' buyout would be payable in a lump sum within 60 days, and it's this massive number, $36, $37 million, whatever it is, that Kentucky wouldn't do that. You said on the radio, the money's probably there if they need it, if they decide to go that route. How did it get here?
Well, let's start with this. They don't want to do it, and it will be a very, very, very difficult pill to swallow. I don't know, maybe you all do, how many contracts have ever had it to where the buyout is paid within 60 days? Or I don't know.
Kevin Sumlin's was the big one. Kevin Sumlin got 2 extra years at A&M because of that.
Yeah, so I think that it's very negative, but it's hard to overreact to how toxic things are going to be if they keep losing this year. I mean, right now, people are kind of resigned to Kentucky not being good, but it's more like if they finish 3-9, which if you look at their schedule is very possible. They play Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Vandy, Auburn, and Louisville. It's not certain they win any of those games. If they finish 3-9, I don't think Kentucky can afford to bring him back because there will be no donations for NIL. There will be no season ticket renewals, or at least a huge downgrade on them. They just can't do it. So what I was told is, look, $37 million is awful. They don't want to do it, and they would hope to find a way around it. But they are aware that even with all the costs, and this is a tough year for Kentucky because they're doing expansions, they're thinking about an entertainment district, that there is an understanding that, like, in a doomsday scenario, you might just have to do it.
Can you hear me now? Andy, ask him what a doomsday scenario is.
Yes. Okay. The funniest part here is I don't know how this is happening, but Matt can't hear Ari. And I just think it's selective. I think he's pretending not to be able to hear him, which is even funnier.
Ari, I don't know that Ari and I have ever actually interacted, and I like Ari's stuff. So it's a shame that he decided to mute when he talks to me. But at least I get to look at him while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, okay. But he's wondering. Okay, the doomsday scenario is that 3-9, or is it a certain way they lose, or how does that happen? Because this is
a good question.
Much 3-9.
3-9 is doomsday. I think 4-8 is pretty close to doomsday. 6-6, he's fine. And then 5-7 is the scenario you were talking about with Kevin Sumlin, where I don't think anyone would be happy, but they'd probably just, because of the $37 million, swallow it and deal with it. But I don't think anybody, if you ask people, if you got them in an honest truth serum moment, nobody wants Kentucky to win 5 games. That's the worst thing that could happen. They'd rather it be 3 or 4 and 6. Because the thing is, if you were to win 5, they'd have to beat 2 pretty good teams on their schedule, right? I mean, you look at Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Auburn, Vandy, Louisville. You win 2 of those. Those are 2 decent teams, right? Mm-hmm. So I think if you win 0 or you win 1, then it's easier. Plus, the other thing is their road games, Tennessee, are Vandy, Auburn, and Louisville. If you had those games at home, you might feel like you could win those games, right? But you have to go on the road, and then the games in theory that you don't think you're going to win either way, Texas, Tennessee, and maybe Florida, you're playing those at home. So it's about a worst case schedule scenario.
It is amazing to me, and you know, I'm assuming that Stoops wouldn't negotiate like a Bobby Bonilla deal or anything like that to stretch this out and make more money, because there was a report from somebody else last week about, you know, that they said he went to the administration last year to talk about negotiating a buyout, and he was adamant about that after the Georgia game. We got that clip. Here's Mark Stoops after the Georgia game talking about that.
Mark, there was a radio report that got a lot of traction yesterday that you approached the administration about negotiating an exit last year. Is there any truth to that at all?
I mean, I hate to give anything like that legs. There's 0. I told you last year, right? You know what I mean? You guys could write and say what you want about me, but I mean, I told you there's 0 chance I'm walking away. You know what I mean? 0. And, you know, there's no quitting me, you know, so that's unequivocally 100% false. You know, and anybody says otherwise is lying.
You said at the start we're not where we want to
And I don't want to address that crap no more.
I don't want to address that crap no more, Matt.
Yeah, I didn't believe that report when it came out. No offense, the person that brought it up. I think what did happen is there was a conversation at the end of the year. You have to understand, Mark Stoops is a very fiery guy. I think you all probably know that, and you can get in conversations with him where it can be tough. I've been in them before, right? And he gets angry. And then sometimes things happen and he comes back and everything's fine. So I think they had a conversation, a lot of which was about, okay, are you all going to invest in this program, NIL, et cetera? And there was some talk about it, and maybe he got an answer he didn't like. And he said, well, if that's the way you feel, then you could just buy me out. But then they got to where they needed to be. Kentucky actually spent pretty good money on NIL this year, and I think everything was in a positive place. So no, I do not believe he said, go buy me out, I want to leave. I do not. That didn't happen. I'm not exactly sure why that came out, but I don't think that's true.
Nor do I understand why we're in his best interest to do so because of the buyout and when it's due. Like, why would you ever negotiate for less? His stance needs to be fire me. Tell him that, Andy.
Yeah, what Ari said, Matt, is, and I agree with this, why would anybody in their right mind even entertain negotiating this thing down? If somebody owes me $37 million in 60 days, by God, pay me $37 million in 60 days.
Yeah.
Well, that's the rub. That's the rub. There's no incentive whatsoever for Mark Stoops has them by the, as they would say, the short hair. Like, there's nothing they can do about it. I mean, really, they're stuck. Now, the one little caveat that I would note is that a lot of coaches don't really care what the fans think. Like John Calipari, he either was oblivious to what the fans thought or did not care. It was like, it doesn't matter. That's not how Stoops is. He feels the criticism, feels it in his bones. He knows, and he hates it. He wants to be liked. So that might play a small part. It's very good relations with the donors that would have to pay this buyout. Like, they're very close. I would say they're very good friends. So maybe there's some way that something gets worked out that is different than in normal circumstances. But if you owe me $37 million, why would I take 15, right? I mean, why would you do it?
And I could see a world. I wouldn't take 37 over 6 years unless you're bumping that up to 50 over 6 years or 60 over 6 years.
That could be what happens. I think that's the sneaky thing to see what happens is there a way that it gets stretched out over time? That would not shock me, because the problem for Kentucky is not money. They actually have more money than you would think for the success that the football program has had. The problem is, literally, this is the worst year it could have happened. The worst year it could have happened, because they have a lot of stuff coming due and they have some investments they want to make, and it's just not an ideal to actually have the cash flow this year. Longer term, I think paying it would not be as big a deal.
Well, I cannot wait to see what happens. This adds a lot of drama, I feel like, to the Kentucky-Texas game next week, which could be dramatic anyway if Texas loses to Oklahoma. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on in Austin too. But
well, let me say this, by the way. One of the things Mark Stoops always done a great job at is winning the game you do not think he will win. Right? Like, he's always been good at that. They beat Ole Miss last year. We were having these conversations last year, and then they went and beat Ole Miss on the road, and all of a sudden the conversation stopped until the end of the year. I fully expect Mark's going to win a game. Those games I read on the schedule, he's going to win one of those. I don't know which one it's going to be, but he's going to win one that nobody expects him to win, and that will – but that's why I think he's got to win two, because Kentucky fans are kind of used to him winning one every year. It would not shock me if they beat Texas or they beat Florida or they beat Tennessee. But I think he's going to have to show he wins more than one, because unfortunately for him, he's done that every year, including last year with that Ole Miss win.
I'm going to speak. I don't know if you use sign language.
Ari, I wish I could read sign language. You know, in South Africa, sign language is an official language, and you could have actually been able to speak it.
I just said you're a very good-looking man. Andy, I
can't hear him.
The notion of You're gonna have to translate this for me.
I will. I'll
the notion
translate.
that he's gonna win a game or win 2 of those games and make things harder, like, to me, is such a bizarre thought process, because the entire point of being on the hot seat and the entire point that Kentucky fans are upset is because they're not expected to win some of those games. Like that, like winning a game as an underdog doesn't do anything. The fact that Kentucky fell from a place where they were either favored or expected to win them is the problem, right?
Yeah. So, 1, Matt, Ari says you're very good looking. 2, he said this conversation about winning a game you're not supposed to win, and I actually feel like it's a conversation Ari and I had about Florida after Florida beat Texas too. But the fact that they keep they'll occasionally win a game they're not supposed to win, is that not the problem? Because Kentucky had gotten to a point under Mark Stoops where they were supposed to win most of the games.
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to win most of the games. And that seems to be the bigger issue.
Here's where fans are for Kentucky. This is how Kentucky fans judge the program. Three games: South Carolina, Vandy, Louisville. That's where they judge it. They like beating these other teams. I mean, remember, there were like 5 years in a row that we beat Florida, or 4 out of 5 years.
Yeah.
But really, South Carolina, Vandy, Louisville, the assumption, whether it's fair or not in Lexington, is, okay, we get it. We might not be able to beat Georgia. We might not be able to consistently beat Tennessee. But there is no reason structurally we cannot beat Vandy, South Carolina, and Florida. Vandy, South Carolina, and Louisville. And what happened is South Carolina has blown the doors off Kentucky 2 straight years, not even been competitive. Vandy has beaten Kentucky in Lexington 2 of the last 3 years. And then Louisville, Kentucky had owned Louisville for a long time, and last year was uncompetitive and Kentucky quit. So I think the more interesting thing is they've already lost to South Carolina, really was not all that competitive. Vandy and Louisville is where you see it, because Kentucky fans they're unreasonable when it comes to basketball. They are not unreasonable when it comes to football. They get it. But their theory is, we play South Carolina, Vandy, and Louisville every year. There is no reason on earth those teams should be blowing us out. And last year, all 3 of them blew Kentucky out. And this year, South Carolina already has.
Well, I don't know if this is all going to last this long, Matt, but I have a feeling like when Florida comes up to Lexington to play, we need to get the Gators Online crew and the KSR crew together, and like our posters and for Gators Online and our posters for KSR. They all need to gather maybe at KS Bar and commiserate, because I feel like they're kind of in the same boat right now.
They are, except Florida's expectations should be a lot higher. That's one of the best programs in the country. But here's what I expect to happen. This is my prediction. Kentucky plays Texas next week closer than you would think. Probably loses at the end, but plays them close. They get destroyed by Tennessee. Everybody's out, right? Then they play, like, I don't know when they play Florida, but they end up beating Florida.
Right about then.
They'll beat Florida. That'll be my prediction. They will beat Florida. And then when they beat Florida, people are going to go see and come into the Vandy and Louisville game with a chance to save the season, and then they'll end up losing both of them. That's my prediction. 4-8, and they beat Florida as a win that gives people hope, and then Vandy and Louisville rip it out of our bodies.
That is also the best for ratings for KSR and for.
Well, no, people have already moved on. I mean, in all seriousness,
they're on to Mark Pope and basketball.
See, that's another thing. That's an underrated part of why this has been tough for Mark. Mark had the benefit of Cal was very unlikable at the end, and he was underachieving. And so fans loved Mark in comparison to Cal. The problem is they love Mark Pope. I mean, they love Mark Pope. And because Stoops now seems like the less likable of the two, that's hurting him as well. And people are as excited about this Kentucky basketball team as they've been in a long, long time. And so I can tell you, the moment Georgia scored those 2 touchdowns to end the first half, Georgia scored and Kentucky didn't score at the end of the first half, people switched to basketball at that moment.
And they've spent too much money on football to allow that to happen, because Kentucky does care about football. Kentucky fans do care about football. I think that's nationally one of the biggest misconceptions. Like, they care.
Kentucky's better this year. They're better than they were last year, but their schedule's not going to show it because they're not going to win these games. But they have more talent than they did last year.
This is going to be fascinating to watch. Matt Jones, thank you. I'm so glad you didn't crash. We will figure out a way to get you to hear Ari, but I almost wonder if it's like if we need to have you see a doctor. But
No, I don't think it's me. I didn't hear the Mark Stoops press thing either, but I will say, as the very first On3 hire, even when On3 wasn't an actual thing, it was just a theory. It's very nice to have you all on board.
Oh, we're so happy to be working with you, Matt. You are the best, and thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Drive safe.
All right, Ari, you can hear me, and I can hear you, right? Talk. Let me see if I can hear you. Okay, that's not funny.
I'm not funny. Can you hear that?
You are
I'm
funny.
not
You're hilarious.
I was laying in bed with my wife a few weeks ago, and we've been together for now over 7 years. And she started sign language. She knows sign language, and I didn't know that until she did it. Isn't that weird?
It is weird that you didn't know that. I am shocked at your lack of attention to detail. But some of the details of what Matt Jones was talking about, Ari, if they're willing to pay this buyout, and again, it sounds like it needs to be pretty bad disaster, but it's also a fairly realistic sounding disaster. If they'll do this, and again, it's not so much that the buyout is so big, it's that the buyout is due within 60 days. That's the hardest buyout to pay of anybody. It's actually a harder buyout to pay than some of these crazy ones we're talking about where we say like LSU would have no way to buy out Brian Kelly. If Kentucky will buy out Mark Stoops and will pay all that money within 60 days, now maybe they do negotiate it to more of a payment plan, but I think that would cost them extra. I think it puts every buyout on the table at that point.
Wouldn't it behoove Mark Stoops to take a longer buyout plan from a tax standpoint? Like if you were to, or once you hit a certain threshold,
you want more up front. So if you took a longer buyout, you'd make them add money to it.
Okay. This is so fascinating to me, Andy, because we're talking about a coach that 3 years ago we were engaging in discussions about whether they would build him a statue.
And also, he was going to go to Texas A&M. I think that's the moment it soured. He tried to get the Texas A&M job. The Texas A&M regents revolted. He winds up staying at Kentucky, and it's been really bad ever since.
But where do you think it's gone wrong? Do you think it's the the NIL thing? Is it the inability to, recruit in the way that they used to in Ohio because of the NIL thing? Why?
I do think they made a lot of hay. They feasted on Big Ten programs that didn't care about football.
Because now more of them care, and it's harder for them to come to the top.
Like Indiana cares. So now you got to deal with them.
Yeah. Because it's like, the thing that's difficult about this is, and I'm going to maybe offend people. I don't know. And I don't mean to. I mean this in a good faith, wholehearted way. But if you're Kentucky and you pay X number of dollars in a 60-day period to Mark Stoops, and it's an incredibly expensive undertaking at a time in which Matt just said they're doing a lot of, expansion and building and things.
Right. It's not a time of high cash flows or a time where you can just use a lot of cash for a different reason than you planned.
The question I have is it money well spent? Because I don't know who you think you're going to go get, nor do I know that they're going to all of a sudden be a national title contender.
Here's the thing. Remember when Mark Stoops was going to Texas A&M, John Sumrall, who was then the coach at Troy, who played at Kentucky, was going to be the next coach at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? John Sumrall is at Tulane. He probably would still move to the SEC. But the concern, I think, if you're Kentucky is if Auburn moves on Hugh Freeze, he's probably going to want that job.
Right.
And so
it's just if
you're
you're
looking at that going, get in line. Do we need to get in line? Do we need to be in the market?
All I'm saying from a financial standpoint is if you're going to spend the money, probably spend it at a time where it's money well spent, because just firing somebody for the sake of firing them.
I don't think they're
and paying
firing
all
somebody
that-
for the sake of firing. If they do this, it's because they are scared that the donations are going to dry up. Because that's the reason you do these firings. It's not because you want to pay all this money. And look, giving Mark Stoops these buyout terms, and I've got his entire contract. There's actually 7 amendments to his contract. This 60-day thing has been in the buyout since he signed the contract in late 2012. So they gave it to him at a time when the buyout wouldn't have been that much money, relatively speaking. And then he became an $8.6 million head coach years later, and they didn't really change the buyout terms very much.
Which you could, and like in fairness, I think even a Kentucky fan can acknowledge the man earned this. It's not like the fact that they're in this position is a result of them doing really well during that 10-year, 14-year period. So like they're between a rock and a hard place right now, no question. But they got there by winning a bunch of games. So like I don't like feel bad. So like the man did earn it. So I don't know.
Nor should anybody feel bad about this. Like Kentucky put itself in this situation, and if you want him to leave, you were going to have to swallow, as Matt said, a very, very bitter pill, and you're just going to have to do this.
Pay that man his money.
Hold on. Producer Roo keeps turning this stuff down.
Pay that man his money.
That's right, Teddy KGB. We're going to use Teddy KGB a lot in the next few months, I have a feeling, Ari.
Yeah, he
just talking about this job.
I watch that scene on YouTube like once a month, by the way.
Pay that man his money.
I mean, Teddy KGB's tell was pretty freaking obvious. You'd think somebody would have picked up on it beforehand. But
I mean, also the tell having to do with an Oreo. Top tier.
It's your tell too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my tell. I actually don't eat when I'm playing cards, believe it or not.
I don't. All right. Before we move on to our next Megaboard topic, let's talk about Brunt Workwear. Look at that beautiful boot. This thing is designed for whatever you throw at it, because Brunt isn't designed to be a fashion brand. It's not like a lot of the boot companies that have gone from being a work brand to being, I'm going to wear you to look good. No, Brunt, you're going to look good, but it's also functional. It'll survive whatever you throw it at it, and it's comfortable for an entire day of work. So go to bruntworkwear.com for durable, reliable workwear. Use the code ON3 to get $10 off. So that's ON and the number 3 to get $10 off. I'm telling you right now, these things, your feet will thank you. They last all day, super comfortable. And then it doesn't matter if you're in the mud, if you're in the snow, if you're in the rain, they're ready to stand up to it. bruntworkwear.com. Use the code ON3 to get $10 off. Ari, our next Megaboard thread comes from the Wolverine. That's our Michigan site. This one comes from Malthus10 as the subscriber who initially posted this. The headline of the thread: pivotal game at USC. Packed with the board not to call for Sharon Moore's firing if it's a loss. Who's in? Ari. Now, a lot of the posters below got into it with the original poster, the OP as it were, and said, hey, why are you putting this? What are you doing? But it was interesting to me because a lot of them were like, don't tell me I can't call for his firing. And I'm thinking, guys, Michigan's not in a terrible spot right now. Like, what are we really that worried about this?
Well, I think it's kind of a nice highlight into a larger discussion point, Andy, which is we came into this year feeling as if Sharon Moore had a wide variety of different things that could happen, both in the good and, especially the bad, that he would, be fine. Like the hot seat stuff wouldn't really pop up for Michigan. Now, they've done pretty well so far this year. Their only loss of the season is on the road in a competitive game against a top 5 team right now. So in terms of calling for his firing right now, that would be premature. But my question back to you is what is the temperature of his seat if things go poorly, and how do you believe that the fans view him? Because the one thing that we need to acknowledge about Michigan is that it's not the same Michigan that it was in 2015. They got a taste of winning at the highest level. They have a national championship. And I think that when you do that, your expectations for what the future should look like change. And you're replacing the most decorated, or one of the two most decorated coaches in the history of the program. You can make the case that he's even more decorated now that with the championship than Bo Schembechler, his mentor and, person that he mirrored his stuff after. And it's like, how much time does Sharon Moore get at Michigan before people get disgruntled if they aren't competing for playoff spots and national championships? And I think that it's possible, and I think that you agree with this, that it might be shorter than we perceive.
Yeah, I've been a little surprised, and that's why I picked this thread, because I've been a little surprised at how seemingly willing they are to just kind of throw it out, that they feel like, last year was not what they wanted. Obviously, the Ohio State game built some goodwill, but then they're not sure if he's the guy long term. I think you got to give him a little bit more chance than this, because again, we've talked about the position that Harbaugh put him in with the timing of the Harbaugh exit. Now, if you feel like you didn't make good hires this year, if you feel like Sharon Moore didn't recruit well this year, that's a fair assessment, because he did have time. He had ample time to do that. But I would say just let's let this game play out before anybody freaks out. Because Producer River, please throw up Michigan's schedule. If they win this game, Ari, obviously playing against Washington is not going to be an easy one, but they do get Washington at home. Michigan State's a rivalry game. Going to Maryland might not be that easy. But if they win this game, Ari, there's a really good chance that they roll into the Ohio State game 10-1, and they're already in the playoff.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pretty big game for them. And I feel like the message board, getting out in front of calling for his firing is kind of a tempered expectation of what they think is going to happen in the game for some reason. And I don't know what it will. I picked USC, you picked Michigan. I think that Michigan does the thing that USC is least equipped to deal with, which is play physically, which we talked about on Monday.
But USC should be more equipped to score on Michigan than they were last year.
Right. And I don't know if Michigan's offense is equipped, even if they played the smash mouth game, to score as freely as Illinois did. I think you can make the case that Illinois has a better, more complete offense than Michigan. So I like USC in this game, but I have liked USC and seen them get their heads beat in. So I don't know what's going to happen. But the thing that really stands out to me about Sharon Moore more than anything is he should be getting more credit for his role in the national title than he is, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like that's just sort of been papered over. He was the acting head coach for 5 of the games. He was the primary play caller on that team. Like, I think that also tells you what he can do as the CEO. Now, again, if he goes and loses 4 more games this season, by all means, have the discussion you want to have.
Yeah.
And be serious about it. That's fine. Because 7-5 is probably not good enough. But this is a team, if they win this game, there's a very good chance they're in playoff contention in November. Very good chance.
Yeah. I'm with you. I just thought that they could go 8-4 or 7-5, and this wouldn't be happening until next year.
I think if they're 8-4 and 7-5, they're going to have some serious conversations.
Yeah,
and
if they go 7-5 against this schedule, that means something terrible went wrong too, because they should have to Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland, Michigan State. So we'll see how it goes, but the expectation isn't just to ride the coattails of the 2022 or what was it 23, the 2023 season. So, man, these years just stack up on me. 23 season, and just like that's good for another decade. Like Michigan expects to be really good, and I do understand separation of the role that you play in helping them win the championship, and then being the prime CEO who's in charge of which players are on the field that you're coaching. Now, not that he didn't play a role in the players they brought into the championship team, but being the sole. Like, I am still kind of confused why Michigan doesn't have any good receivers. Like we knew that.
It is crazy confusing, especially considering the quarterback they did bring in. And I think that's the other piece of this is Michigan fans are looking at this like Bryce Underwood is, and look, I don't think Bryce Underwood signed to play specifically for Sharon Moore. I think Bryce Underwood signed to play for Michigan because that was the offer. That was the financial package, all that is to play for Michigan. I think Bryce Underwood's there. And so the question is, and this is what they're asking is this the right guy to shepherd this potentially very special quarterback for the next few years? And the thing is, if Bryce Underwood keeps getting better, they're going to keep winning and they're going to be in playoff contention. And this question will answer itself because Sharon Moore will be fine.
I think that Michigan actually has quite the runway, which makes this game a little bit bigger than even maybe we gave it credit for on Monday. Because if you win this game or you figure out a way to muscle it out the way that they did last year, they beat them last year without being able to throw a forward pass. Let's not forget. Yeah. And then you have games that, you'll be favored in for the large portion of it heading into the Ohio State game. Like this gives him chance to grow within himself too, so that he's playing his best football at the end of the year when they host Ohio State on November 29th. So, and if they're 10-1 going into that game and they're already in the playoff, regardless of what happens in that game, you might be ahead of schedule. So, which makes not having a receiver much more frustrating because you would need that person in December and January, and they don't have.
I mean, look, Donovan McCulley's playing pretty well. That it's not that they don't have anything at receiver, but my question is, why didn't they get? I mean, these receivers in the portal, like Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion, have completely revolutionized Texas A&M's offense.
Yeah,
there were guys there that you could have got.
You can list them all off. I don't know how many they would have been able to get. Geography, finance, all those things play a factor in it. But like, if Eric Singleton were on this team, it might be a little different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. They have money. That's not a problem. So that is the knock I have, the one complaint I have. But again, if they can go into the Coliseum and win this game, I would be very curious to see what their playoff odds would be at that point, like to make the playoff, because I think the percentage would be very high. Because really, if you win this game, you got to beat Washington, and then you should feel very comfortable about being able to get in. And
I think the game that we're probably going to wind up leading the show with on Saturday night, by the way.
I think there's a good chance. Although I will tell you, Saturday night is as juicy as it gets. Just the night window. Because obviously we'll have a lot to say about Texas, Oklahoma, and Indiana, Oregon during the day. Alabama, Missouri is a noon game. Ohio State, Illinois is a noon game. But at night, you have Florida, Texas A&M, Michigan, USC, South Carolina, LSU, Georgia, Auburn, all happening. And all of those have crazy ramifications, potentially.
We got to hightail it out of there. We got to get back. We got to get the dominoes ordered.
It's going to be.
We got a night. By the way, just so you know, my wife is out of town this weekend. I don't know if you know this.
You've told me.
We have the whole house to ourselves, my friend.
I don't even know what that means.
We're clearing out all the decks to eat pizza uninterrupted.
Okay. That's fine.
There's no woman coming downstairs, opening up the pizza boxes. Hey, Ari, how much did you eat? There's no baby running around. Hey, Daddy, chase me. I feel like
you're more excited about this than me. I could deal with the family being around. That wouldn't faze me at all.
It's not that I don't love my family being around. My family makes my life better in 99.9% of instances. The one time I do not want my family around, maybe the only time I don't want my family around, is when I'm eating Domino's. It's okay. Like, you can understand that.
I got you. All right. Next Megaboard topic. A very familiar face will be leading the Arkansas Razorbacks as they head to Neyland Stadium to play Tennessee. Bobby Petrino is in charge at Arkansas again. He's trying to stay in charge permanently. To do that, he's going to have to win some games. The first one, big uphill climb against the Vols. Let's talk about Bobby Petrino, this excellent Chris Lowe story at On3 about Petrino's second chance at Arkansas. And let's decide whether they can do it or not. Before we get to a familiar face back in a familiar place, let's talk about Gametime. Do you want to go to any of these games we're talking about this weekend? Do you want to go to Red River, where me and Ari will be? I'll be eating turkey legs. Ari will be eating corn dogs because I'm right and he's wrong. But you want to go to that game? You can go to that game. You get great tickets in the Cotton Bowl using Gametime. Download the Gametime app right now. Redeem the code STAPLES. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. But what you do is you type in Oklahoma football or Texas football, and it'll say Red River Rivalry. You click it. You can pick exactly where you'll sit. You'll see exactly where you'd sit in the Cotton Bowl, and the dollar figure you see is the exact amount you'll pay. You want to go to Michigan USC? Got plenty of tickets in the Coliseum for that one as well. In the mid 200s, you can get some pretty good seats for that Michigan USC game that Sharon Moore says it's sold out because Michigan's coming, and Lincoln Riley says, don't care what he says, we just want to play. If you want to see that game, go to Gametime, download the app, use code STAPLES for $20 off your first purchase. The thread comes from Hogbeat, and Kyle Sutherland from the Hogbeat staff posted Chris Lowe's excellent On3 story about Bobby Petrino as the interim coach at Arkansas. And the headline sums it up very nicely. Surreal or not, Bobby Petrino is back leading Arkansas, but for how long? You can hit that QR code if you're watching on the video version of the podcast, and you can read Chris's story as we talk about it. Great story from Chris. He talked to former Petrino players. He talked to Petrino, and it really does kind of lay out the terms here where Bobby Petrino has an opportunity to get this job that he left in disgrace, essentially, after the motorcycle accident, providing a great Halloween costume for our producer, River Bailey, years later. But this is a chance for him to, I guess, it's not going to wipe all that away, Ari, but he can be Arkansas's full-time head coach again. He just has to win against what looks like an impossible schedule.
Yeah. Also, I think that River fumbled the bag a little bit because when you said we're going to be talking out a familiar face, he should have just immediately put his Halloween costume up on the screen. Not him.
It's Bobby. Let's see. There it is. There it is.
He looks more like Bobby than Bobby does. That's you did well. You knew your way around the makeup there. Yeah. So how many do you think he needs to win?
So I think if he can go 4-3 against this schedule, I mean, I'd hire anybody who could go 4-3 against this schedule, especially with the defense they have. Now, remember, Bobby Petrino fired the defensive staff and revamped that. So perhaps the defense will be better, but it didn't change the personnel. So I'm not super optimistic. But here is the schedule. At Tennessee, Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, at LSU, at Texas, Missouri. If you go 4-3 against that, by God, give the man the job.
Yeah. It's just a fascinating blast from the past. And I think that alone makes watching the Tennessee game just worth watching, right? I mean, you want to see what it looks like. And the thing that is interesting to me, Andy, is that the man has a tryout as head coach, but they didn't do a ton of scoring with him as the offensive coordinator in big moments this year either. So, how do you make a distinction?
Yeah, they have. What are you talking about? They didn't against Notre Dame. They did against Ole Miss.
Notre Dame is what I was referring to. But
they scored enough against Memphis. They should have won. They were fumbling going in to win the game. Like that, they fumbled against Ole Miss. They had a chance to win against Ole Miss. They've played well offensively. Taylon Green's been good. Omega Blake has been excellent. He's already caught 30 balls for 400 yards. They can move the ball. And the question is, can they move the ball enough against Tennessee? A Tennessee team, by the way, that will be looking for revenge. Remember, Tennessee went to Fayetteville last year and lost. Tennessee's offense couldn't do anything against this defense. Travis Williams, the since fired defensive coordinator at Arkansas, called the Tennessee offense predictable after this. I'm telling you right now, even though the architect of that is gone now and is fired and is not going to be there, I guarantee you Josh Heupel and Tennessee want to stand on business here. You remember Missouri when Eli Drinkwitz went up to Heupel and said, "We stand on business, Josh." I believe Josh would like to stand on business against the Arkansas defense because the Arkansas defense did embarrass them last year, and now they have a chance to severely embarrass the Arkansas defense.
Yeah, and Tennessee has kind of just like faded away into obscurity for some reason ever since they played Georgia. And I know 1 week was a bye week, and
well, they won in overtime against Mississippi State. That was a game we were all watching. I think Tennessee is still a playoff contender. I like that. Nothing about that loss to Georgia suggests to me that they're just going to lose a couple more games and that'll be it. Like, I think Tennessee's pretty good and has a really legitimate chance to make the playoff.
I mean, the toughest proposition for Bobby Petrino in his first test as the new head coach is the fact that Tennessee has scored 40 or more points in every game they've played so far. And, they scored 70 in the overmatched opponent game, and they scored 56 against UAB, 45 against Syracuse. Like, if they can score 50 points, like, that's just a reoccurrence of what happened at Notre Dame. And part of the reason, I guess, when I misspoke earlier, that Arkansas didn't score a ton of points against Notre Dame was the fact that they were going for it on fourth down in the red zone a few times and just couldn't get into the end zone.
They couldn't. They could not stop Notre Dame, so they
go for every move the ball against Notre Dame. But so like, to me, Tennessee is every bit as interesting in this matchup as Arkansas. And if Arkansas can give Tennessee a game, then that's a pretty nice tell for the head coach. And obviously too, like, when you revamp some of your staff, I know you don't change personnel, Andy, but a large part of being a head coach in college football is your ability to make good hires. And if you made the right hires right out of the gate in a pretty tough situation and at least improve the defense, that's probably a pretty good sign too.
And
you're
we've seen,
whether they hit or not.
Yeah, we've seen where a coordinator got fired, somebody from on staff came up and did a great job with that unit. We just saw Saturday? It happen with UCLA.
Yeah, like on Saturday. Yeah.
They fire Tino Sunseri. They make Jerry Neuheisel the play caller, and all of a sudden UCLA is beating Penn State. So,
the thing I will say about that, Andy, is that UCLA couldn't do anything against anyone all year. And then they ran like goat through a tin horn on one of the best defenses in college football. That, to me, is made up. Like, that's not the standard here. What you're looking for is marginal improvement, I think, if you're an Arkansas fan. Whatever happened there.
I think the problem is this Tennessee offense is really potent. And Joey Aguilar has been awesome. Chris Brazel's been awesome. The line has protected. And Aguilar right now, 102 of 157, 1,459 yards, 13 TDs, 5 picks. Chris Brazel, 31 catches, 531 yards, 7 TDs already.
Do you know what we messed up on? Or I always do that. I lump you in with my idiocy. But our number one Tennessee talking point in the offseason, you want to talk about things that we were wrong about, was their like question mark at receiver. Like, not only
working pretty well for them.
It's working out great. They've got two guys that are producing at a pretty high level. Obviously, Mike Matthews was somebody that we were really going to watch. He has 22 receptions for 370 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 16.8 yards per reception. And then Brazel, of course, goes without saying. Like, they have two legitimate studs at receiver that are getting open downfield and a quarterback that's delivering them the ball, which wasn't happening a year ago.
Yeah.
So, like, if Arkansas's defense is leaky, and we know that it is, and it hasn't improved or, improved just a little bit, Tennessee's going to drop 50 in this game.
Yeah. So Tennessee's a 12.5-point favorite. I like Tennessee to cover here. I think that it's interesting because you talk to different people about the Petrino situation, and some people say, oh, they fired Sam Pittman when they did to give Bobby Petrino a chance. And I know Bobby Petrino has a significant amount of support among influential Arkansas people. But I think there also is a group that would rather he didn't get the job. And I think the timing of Sam Pittman's firing was so that he would have to face this gauntlet and that it would keep him from getting the job. But what's interesting about that is it's essentially the ultimate test, because if he's good, yes, by all means, like, if you can beat the teams we're talking about, if you can beat a Tennessee or a Texas A&M or a Texas or an LSU, like, you should get the job. And then if you can't, they'll go find somebody who can, who they feel like can. I think that's the fairest way to do it. He's going to have a shot, and it starts at Neyland Stadium this weekend. So,
do you know what I don't know, and you probably have a better handle on than I do? What does the general Arkansas fan feel about this? Like, it's funny. We like laughing about the neck brace, but do Arkansas fans have fond memories and are wanting to recreate them, or do they want separation from this and something new? Like, what do you think
they liked the success when he was there. They could have done without the drama, but they like the success. So I think there's a good group of, good chunk of Arkansas fans rooting for him. But there are probably some other ones that would like to just kind of move on and try to start a new era. So it's not a cut and dried thing. And I also think he can win those fans by winning games. He will lose those fans by losing games. Are
there any instances in the encyclopedia of college football that you would have in the top of your brain of coaches who left a program in a somewhat disgraceful way who returned and were successful, or is this like an unprecedented situation?
Bobby Petrino going back to Louisville. It wasn't super disgraceful, but remember, he had lied to them about the meeting with Auburn and all that. So, and Tom Jurich was the AD for both when he left and when he came back. And the Tom Jurich press conference introducing him was like surreal because it was like, yeah, I don't know if I like this guy, but he's a coach again. So,
all right, we'll stay tuned on Saturday. I mean, we got a game.
We shall see. Another game we need to watch very closely on Saturday. Well, we need to watch the South Carolina LSU game because it's interesting no matter what. But South Carolina fan Omni-Man on Twitter has really made it interesting. You remember the dog poop bet with Florida State last year? This one goes hard. If South Carolina goes 5-0 during this stretch, I will butt funnel an Oreo McFlurry. So the 5-game stretch in question at LSU on Saturday, followed by Oklahoma in Columbia, Alabama in Columbia, at Ole Miss, and at Texas A&M. I don't think Omni-Man and his local McDonald's have anything to worry about. But, Ari, if you're going to do this, that seems like the most pleasant version of this. Because wasn't there a 7-layer burrito and a K-State fan last year?
Yeah, and he did it.
Talks?
He did it. Yeah.
He did it. Yeah.
And, we have gone a while since doing a random ranking. Right now, Andy and I will be randomly ranking the 5 most advantageous things to shove up the tailpipe. I'm kidding. I'm joking. I don't know.
I mean, McFlurry's number 1, though, right? Cookies and cream McFlurry, of course.
I've heard, Andy, that if you were to take alcohol from that entrance, that the booze hits your system more quickly and more intensely. I don't know if that's true or not.
Ari, you're just trying to set me up to play the greatest press conference of all time, I think, because this got debated fiercely in SEC country a few years ago when a student, this had nothing to do with the football team, but a student at the University of Tennessee was accused, I guess, wound up in the hospital, had been accused of quote unquote butt chugging. And then his attorney held a press conference in which he stood in front of the student and all his frat brothers and used the phrase butt chugging as many times as humanly possible. Here,
he asked Xander if he had been butt chugging. And Xander's comment was, "What in the world is that?" I appeared about 30 minutes later, along with the chapter advisor of Pi Kappa Alpha, and I informed him that the reason that I was there was to ask him whether or not he had been involved in an activity called butt chugging. And he looked at me like I'd lost my mind and said, "What is that?" And ladies and gentlemen, that is the first time that he had ever heard of the 2 words butt chugging, which have now become 2 famous words across the United States and across the world.
I love that he acts so offended that his client was accused of butt chugging, but then also uses the phrase butt chugging as many times as possible because he knew that would get it played on TV more.
There are many myths about the rectal muscles, and I'm glad we put this one to rest. I have no idea what the hell's going on this show today. Honestly, I have no clue what we're doing here.
Ari didn't know about the butt chugging press conference. Producer River knew, of course, because he went to Tennessee. The butt chugging press conference, there's an 8-minute clip of it on the internet. I will tell you right now, it is the single funniest press conference in the history of press conferences. There's never been anything better. If you're listening to this in podcast form, I highly recommend you go to YouTube and watch the clip we just played, because the frat brothers in sunglasses standing behind the attorney, trying to look hard, but honestly questioning every life choice they've ever made because they realize this is going to be on the internet forever. It's incredible. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And good luck to South Carolina. You've got a fan in me. And good luck to Omni Man.
I mean, I might do this if they go 5-0.
Andy,
Yes.
be very careful right now.
I mean, they're not going 5-0.
I'm going to ask you one time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If South Carolina goes 5-0 against that gauntlet, will you butt chug an Oreo McFlurry on our show?
I mean, well, okay. One, we can't show anything on YouTube. That would be a violation of terms of service. Yeah.
You can't lay stomach down?
I can lay stomach down. You can't, like, we can't show my butt. Like, that's going to be.
Andy, the camera would be set up here. You would be laying face down.
So like I'm at the proctologist's office, basically.
You can have somebody you trust. I'll be honored to do it if you need me to do this. Put the funnel in the hole.
Okay.
There's no nudity.
All right.
Be careful. This is you can say no.
I feel bad because we're stealing the guy on the internet's idea.
Or we could do Modelo, whatever you want.
I don't think Modelo would appreciate that. I don't think our advertisers would not like that. So we probably need it to be a non-advertiser. So McDonald's is not an advertiser. Fine. If they go 5-0, you can do it. Let's see the schedule again. Show the schedule. At LSU, home against Oklahoma, home against Alabama, at Ole Miss, at Texas A&M. I'm not worried.
South Carolina is just not. They're not going to do it. But they're not a bad team, and they've got a really good quarterback with a high ceiling. I'm just saying that you're making a bigger risk than you needed to, because we're doing it. I'm telling you, we're doing it. And if it makes you feel any better, if South Carolina goes 0-5 against them, I will run with you following me at for a distance, because I know you've been wanting to.
Fine, that's fine. 3 miles, 5 miles. It's 5 games, 5 miles.
5 games, 5 miles. You can have a GoPro and you can run behind me and call me names as and I'll do my best.
All right, this seems fair. This
just to give
fair.
you a little, so you don't feel like you're alone in this. Because, like, honestly,
I think you are more at risk than I am.
Yeah, I am.
I don't think they'll go 5 either, but
my stakes are lower though. So that's the way gambling works. So, yeah, okay. Well, we have a show. And
oh my God!
Now we get to promote that you're going to do it though, which would be great for ratings for the show, I think. And honestly,
incredible.
Now I'm.
But you don't get to see my butt. YouTube would not appreciate that. So,
and then or you can just film me. Am I actually the funnel guy?
I don't know if I trust you.
I've had to give my daughter an enema in the last 2 years.
My wife's never been on the show. I might have her do it.
Yeah,
I'm sure. How do you think that conversation is going to go?
I'm not going to. So quit asking.
My wife often sounds like Nick Saban, so that's entirely possible. Oh, have mercy. Okay. Well, I've stepped in it, but that's okay. I got a little excited. I should have faith. I did grow up a South Carolina fan, but the fact that I'm a South Carolina fan is why I'm sure I'm not going to have to do this. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not enough to say go Tigers right now. There's 5 games, but okay. All right, I'm going to process this.
Yeah, you are.
You guys think about what you're going to write for your Dear Andy and Dear Ari questions. Andy Staples on3 at gmail.com. ari.wasserman at on3.com. Send us your emails. Send us your questions. We will do our best to answer them on tomorrow's show. I'm going to think about what I've just agreed to.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.